Today on Sugar Spun Run, I'll be showing you how to make apple cider donuts. Hey Sugar Spun bakers, Sam here, and I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. This is one of my favorite recipes of fall. I am going to be showing you how to make delicious apple cider donuts. Now originally I thought I would be frying today's recipe, but after polling all of you who follow me over on Instagram, I found out that most of you actually prefer your apple cider donuts baked, and so that's what we are doing. So go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we are still going to need to head over to the stovetop because we are going to need to cook down some apple cider. You're going to be starting with 2 1/4 cups of apple cider, and this is apple cider, not apple juice. We're going to pour this into a medium-sized saucepan. We're going to bring this to a simmer or even a boil over medium-high heat, and we are going to cook this apple cider until it has been reduced to only 3/4 a cup. Now this is important because what we're doing is we're cooking out a lot of the water that's in the cider. This is going to leave us with an apple cider reduction that has a much more potent apple cider flavor, and that's going to impart a lovely taste into our donuts. Now this can take some time. It can take 10 to 15 minutes. It can take less time or more time depending on your particular stovetop. For me, it's about 10 minutes. And you do want to check this by pouring it back into your measuring cup and making sure you get it down to 3/4 cup. All right, so once you've reduced your apple cider, you're going to want to let that cool completely because you don't want to add it into your batter while it's still warm. The cider can take some time to cool. You can pop it in the fridge if you want to speed up the process. And once it's cooled, we can start making our donuts. Now in a large bowl, I have measured out 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of granulated sugar and 1/4 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. We'll also add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, a teaspoon of baking powder, just 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then to get some nice fall flavors going, I also like to add just an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg and 1/8 teaspoon of allspice. We'll whisk everything together until it's nicely combined. And then let's grab our apple cider from earlier, and again, you want to make sure it's nice and cool. And we'll add 1 egg right in with the cider. We're also going to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And we'll whisk these together until they're nicely combined. You want to make sure that egg yolk is nicely broken up. Now I have 3 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter here. I'm just going to add this into the mixture. It's going to separate right out to the top, that's fine, but I do like to whisk everything together. And then we'll pour this into our flour mixture. Now at this point, you want to take care that you don't overmix the donut batter, otherwise you can end up with really dense, dry donuts. So I'm just going to be using my spatula, and I'll just fold everything together until the ingredients are just combined, kind of like if we were making a muffin batter. Now for today's recipe, we are going to be using you need a 12 count donut pan. I only have 6 counts, so I'll be using 2 of these. And you could just spoon the batter into the donut cavities, but to make things a little bit easier, I like to take a piping bag, or you could just use a Ziploc bag, and I'll just add all of my batter to that. Now to make sure the donuts come out nicely and cleanly, you'll just want to lightly grease every donut cavity with a little bit of baking spray. And then I like to just take a paper towel and just rub it into each cavity. That way we have a nice, light, even coating. And now because we put this in this piping bag, it's really easy just to pipe the batter into the donut pan. All right, we'll take these over to our 350 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven, where they're going to need to bake for about 9 to 10 minutes. A good way to test if they're done is just to take a toothpick and insert it in the center, well, the thickest part of the donut, I should say. There's nothing in the center. And just make sure that comes out clean or with a few moist crumbs. Now, while these donuts cool just a little bit, we can prepare our topping. You are going to need 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I usually use unsalted butter because that's what I typically have on hand, but if you have salted, that would actually work great here as well. And I'm going to make a simple cinnamon sugar topping by just whisking together 1/2 cup of granulated sugar with 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I always like to put wax paper underneath because you know you're going to be dripping some cinnamon and sugar and some butter, and this just makes cleanup a lot easier later on. Now you're going to need a pastry brush, and we are just going to brush each donut thoroughly with butter. Now you might be thinking, why am I not just dunking the donut right in the butter? And the problem with that is these donuts are pretty porous and they end up just soaking up the butter like a sponge, and you end up with soggy donuts. So you just want to brush them all over with the butter and then drop them in our little dish of cinnamon sugar and coat them on both sides. We've done the butter on both sides, we're doing the cinnamon sugar on both sides, and just return it to your cooling rack. Now these donuts are best enjoyed warm, as is just about anything or any donut. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and dig in while they're still warm but not hot. I hope you guys enjoyed today's super simple apple cider donut recipe. If you tried this one out, please let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.